Let's talk about missions. Let's walk you through what God is doing in our ministry. Journey with us to the mission fields. Allow us saturate your mind and hearts. Get up and close with our close to 2,000 missionaries serving in over 1,600 mission fields in 19 countries across the world. Let us share with you the challenges we face and the victories we've made through the power of God. Let us take you inside EMS.
Good evening to all of you, our esteemed viewers. My name is Bature Habila. This is Inside EMS on ECWA Television International, where we delve deep into the heart of the remarkable ministry of the EMS of ECWA. On this episode of Inside EMS, we embark on an inspiring journey, shedding light on the pivotal Village Care Initiative VCI training for EMS regional and DCC coordinators. Our focus on today's episode centers on an ideology that goes beyond the conventional, an ideology that breathes life into communities and opens doors for preaching the gospel. The VCI, a powerful tool, has ignited a beacon of hope, creating viable communities where the seeds of faith are sown and bridges are built to carry the message of love and salvation. Through this groundbreaking training, our coordinators are equipped with profound takeaways to transform the very fabric of the communities they serve. As we follow their footsteps, we will witness the empowerment that allows these missionaries to nurture change from within. Stay with us as we unravel the essence of VCI, understanding how it unfolds a new chapter in the missions to spread the divine message. Let's explore together how these dynamic coordinators spearhead the charge in enriching lives and etching everlasting legacies. But before we go deep, let us take a short break. We'll be right back.
So we are currently holding the second edition of our Prefect Leadership Retreat at Reja Retreat Center.
Last year we were here and we did the same thing we're doing now with our previous prefects that are going out now.
Last year we were here and we had a different sense. And we saw that it's very important because we noticed a lot of changes when we go back to school.
You know, it is important for some of these children to be given the role of leadership. This we are doing because it's not all the time that teachers will be on campus.
We are here to encourage them. We are here to help them. We are here to give them information.
But there are essentials to building relationships that are critical to being a leader. You must have some certain skills to be able to build it. Because we said that leadership is an act of moving people, right? For you to be able to move people, we said you have to be able to encourage, motivate, and what? Influence.
We have known that prefects who are trying to be a good leaders must always be a leader that showed example.
It's a very important role for everyone, and if you are becoming a leader, you have to be determined and know all the rules and steps that it takes to be a leader.
I'm happy to be in this retreat because I'm a prefect and I learn about leadership.
Individual cannot work alone, but if we work in the team, we ensure the development of our school.
So communication is good among the prefects, and in anything, in any leadership you have been given, you should learn how to be communicating with the other of your members.
I am very happy to the school management
and the EMS office, and then ECWA entirely.
Our prefecture is, we have different categories and various offices, and of course we would be glad and happy to have mentors. We'll be happy to have those that will coach these children in their specific roles of leadership. For example, we have a health prefect. We would not mind to have a passionate health practitioner, enlightening and guiding the health prefect on what to do in his specific office or responsibilities. We have a kitchen prefect, we have a head prefect, both boys and girls. We have the kitchen prefect, we have the chapel prefect. So of course we are looking forward to having young people who are also leaders in various professions coming in to mentor these young ones, so that, like we said, our goal is futuristic, so that as they are efficient here as prefects in our school, they can apply these principles that they are applying now to be efficient even subsequently in the future. So we look forward to having you coming to join us to mentor these children and coach them and help them to become efficient leaders even now and in the future.
And if it gets to where you can't hear me, then raise your hand in the back and I'll speak up. This is much better. I have just a story about my children to begin with, and it seems like here today that not many of you know much. Is that accurate? That's what I was trying to find out, is what do you know? And who in the world is this white man standing in front of you? And I want to tell you that I'm not standing here this morning even to tell you what to do. If we had more time, what I would really love to do is meet with you over the next week in some small groups around a table and listen to your stories, because that has been the story of my life. So back in the 1990s, I was involved in I got a little fly buzzing around me here. I was involved in litigation, in a lawsuit in California. And the litigation was myself and a friend of mine and a couple of others, one psychologist and one child development specialist, and me, and we filed a lawsuit in the county of Placer in the state of California, which is a small county in Northern California. And that is the beginning of this story. We filed the lawsuit because there were organizations in our community that were tasked with taking care of children. Now, I know what you may think about America. Let me tell you now, and I'll tell you, California is the wealthiest area of the United States. The economy of California by itself, alone, without the rest of America, is the 5th largest economy in the world, all by itself. It's responsible for almost 25% of the economy of the United States. It's a very dynamic state. It is about the size, it is less than the size of Nigeria, and has about less than half your population. Very wealthy state. So the surprising thing that you might hear is similar to things I think I've learned here. What you might have heard about America is that it is the land of where the streets are paved with gold. And it's where everybody in the world wants to go. It's a wonderful place. But let me tell you, there are homeless people there. There are poor. There are children who have no parents. There are parents who have abandoned their children because of drugs and alcohol and other behaviors. There are families in crisis all over America, just as there are here. And it was on behalf of those children that we filed our lawsuit, because we had an area of our country spending millions of dollars, US dollars, to take care of these children, but the children were not being taken care of. And I think you're familiar with some of the challenges of why that happens. But one of the reasons it happens is because each department, because of the law, was not able legally to communicate with the other departments. So if the sheriff's department had taken in a child, they were not allowed to speak to the health department about the history of that child. So there were 5 agencies that did not have all of the information they needed. And so we began to think about, what does every child need? What is every child? What do we want for every child? And the way we found that out is we started looking first, interviewing parents and asking them, what do you want for your children? And we came to 5 very simple things that turned out to be, in our community, always true all the time. And we want every child to be safe. We want every child, do we not want every child to be safe? We want every child to be healthy. We want every child to be living in a loving home, right? We want every child to have a good education. And the last one in America, we reversed later in Africa. In America, Americans tend to have a negative come-from place. I call it, they think about the negative first and then work their way to, maybe that's human behavior. But we said we wanted our children to be out, to stay out of trouble, which makes sense. Here we changed it by listening to thousands of you over many countries in Africa. I changed the entire program and took all the negatives away. We want every child to have a good reputation. That's what you told me. You didn't come to me and say, we don't want our children to be in trouble. That's coming from a place of a negative, you've already failed. But you came to me from a place of success, saying we want our children to have a good reputation. So one more time, we want every child to be safe, to be healthy, to be living in a loving home, to have a good education, and to have a good reputation. That's not that complicated. And what we realized in our community then, we said, well, what does that mean in our community for a child to be safe? What does it mean for a child to be healthy? What does it mean for a child, safe, healthy, to live in a loving home, to have a good education, and to have a good reputation? And it occurred, and then as we formulated that plan in a very simple one-page grid, we filed a lawsuit and we sued these agencies and fought a battle for 5 years, and finally the court agreed with us and mandated that these organizations not only share this information, but set that as the goals for the children of our community, that all children, we want all children in our community, not just those who have healthy and financially sound parents, but all children to have access to these 5 things. And it revolutionized our county for about 10 years. And then the bureaucrats moved in and the laws changed and the program fell apart. But I held that in fact, I created an organization in order to sustain those practices. We began to teach them to parents who were struggling with drugs and alcohol and addiction and who were in trouble with the law. And we had an agreement with the court that if the parents went through this program, they had a chance to get their children back in their homes. So we had written this small program called Outcomes for Children. And now I want to tell you, I'm going to shift my story a little bit here. I want to tell you a little of my personal story. I am not a pastor. I'm not paid to come here. I don't get stipends or even expense money. I come because God has compelled me to come. I have a small business in America. Has nothing to do with any of these things. It's a tax and accounting and consulting firm. by the grace of God, I became a Christian in 1971, and I've been struggling with that as you taught, you spoke of this morning, daily. What does it mean to know Christ as your Savior? And it has become the journey of my life. So I want you to know, who am I, and who's this white man, and what is he going to tell us to do? Because isn't that what white people come to Africa for? So they can instantly, with no background, will see the situation, and this is very American. We will tell you what the solution is, just like that. We are always wrong. So my journey was a bit different than that. I grew up on a farm, working and digging ditches, and see, I'm still, at 70, I'm still a farm boy. Wow. In my eighth decade now. So I grew up working. When the sun came up, we went to work. And then we went to school, and after school, we came home and we went to work. And I still do that every day. But in 1999, my father died. And my brother also died. 3 of my uncles died. And 2 of my cousins died. And I was 48 years old. And I went from being the youngest member of my family in my generation to the oldest, to the patriarch of the family. And I remember sitting, and I was much heavier, you know, as you get into your 30s and 40s, and I was much heavier than I am now, and I was broken. Because the heroes of my life, my mentors, we had a family business, we all worked together, we're all gone. And at the end of the year, I remember sitting, you know, at Christmas time when the family gathers, sitting in my father's chair, and I'm looking at our extended family. And I'm realizing for the first time, they're all looking at me. And I made a very difficult decision. I decided that I would not be the patriarch of my family. It was not what God was calling me to do. My best work in my life has always been to support a leader. That was my father. And I was his, from the time that I was 14, he put me in charge of our family finances. I had a knack. And I served him until he died. And I decided in that moment, I'm not taking this job. It was a very difficult decision. I had to take, as Abraham did, I took my family and my children, and we moved about 1,000 kilometers away. Because I knew that if we didn't leave, I could not fulfill my destiny. And I did not know what my destiny would be. Except for one thing, another tragedy that happened many years earlier. In a small community that I lived in, there were only 400 people. And my nearest neighbors were large farms. They were miles, kilometers away. And so I had a good friend, a young man my age. He was 6 foot 6 inches. He was a foot taller than I am, and I was smaller than I am now. And we were quite the David and John. My name is David. His name was Jeff, but we called us David and Jonathan. And we grew up together, and we lived. And you know how children, mates are. Went to college together, and after college, during a job during college, we worked for the United States Peace Corps during the summers, teaching American college students from cities who wanted to go overseas. This is the stupidest thing I think America has ever done, but to take these city kids and teach them for a couple of weeks how to farm and send them to Africa to teach people how to farm, where you've been farming for generations longer than we have. But that's how Americans sometimes think, that they have the solution to the world's problems. So we were working together in that program, and after college, he went to Africa. He came to Zimbabwe, and he worked there for 3 years, and we corresponded that was during the 1970s. And he came back, and we started a small business together. Another person that's involved in this story would be a young girl who was on the other side of the valley where we lived in, and she was the only girl within hundreds of square kilometers that was my age. And she is now my wife. And we met when we were 14, so we've been together a long time. So the three of us were actually very close, and there was an incident on a job one day, an accident, and my friend was killed. He died. And again, I was only 27 years old, and he had been my lifetime friend, and I was broken. But one of the goals that we had for ourselves was to make enough money that we could go. He wanted to bring me back to Africa so we could climb Mount Kilimanjaro. That was And as I sat there in that chair many years later at the death of my patriarchs of my family, I thought, I need to change. I'm going to Africa, and I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So 2 years later, when I was 50, in the year 2002, I landed in Nairobi. I had lost about 70 kilos to be the weight I am today. I looked like a Marine. I was going to climb that mountain, and I did. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, but I tell you this, when I landed in Nairobi and got off the plane, I felt at home for the first time in my life. And that has never changed to this day. This is my 76th trip to Africa. More than one for every year of my life. And every time when I land, wherever I come, I feel completely at home. I have never felt that in America. So I do not know why God would send a white man. And I had no idea why I was coming, except I began to look around as I traveled down to climb that mountain. I spent time in Kenya going around to villages, and it captured my heart. Your hearts captured my heart. There is no relationship. I tell you this, I don't know if you know how powerful you are. There is no relationship I've found in America that is like every relationship in Africa, where we can sit and share who we are as if we had known each other our whole lives. And so I began to come back, and I would sometimes spend a month or 2 months. I would never come announced. I would land in a city. I would head up country. I would find a community, and I would say, hello, anybody speak English? And I would stay. I would stay, sometimes for weeks, and just watch and listen and learn.
Those were the highlights of the VCI training for EMS regional and DCC coordinators. I'm afraid that's the much that we can take on this segment of the program. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue with the next segment. Stay tuned.
Hello everyone, I want to sincerely welcome you to Missions Hub with Mark Phillips today. And you remember in my last post I did say that I'm going to flood this week with all the activities that happen with the missionary kids, with the dinner we had with them. I know when I made my post I didn't make this very clear, and there is a reason to that. The reason was that I didn't want to expose the trauma they are experiencing. And even right now, I do not intend to expose the trauma they're experiencing. But I had a few interviews with some of the kids and at random, and then two of them, you will hear their testimonies on this clip, and some of them actually have lost their parents. And some of them lost their parents to natural death. Some of their parents were killed during these insurgencies. And then some of them have really passed through a lot in their lives. You know what child abuse is all about. And some of them have really verbal abuse, and some of them have felt worthless. And I'm happy that one of the girls actually testified to the fact that this dinner meant a lot to her and to them, of course, because it actually, they thought they were worthless, and they now know that they are very important. What is your name?
My name is Lovelyn Marcus.
Lovelyn Marcus. Where is your father serving?
My dad is late.
Okay, your dad is late.
Yes.
Your dad is late, and you are here in EMS Children's School. Yes. What can you say about today?
Actually, I'm so happy today, overjoyed. I can't explain how excited I am today because of wonderful things that you have done to us. So we appreciate that.
So I'm not the one that did it to you. It's people who actually stood by me. Would you want to just look at the camera there and talk to them?
Okay, I really appreciate them for what they have done and their love and kindness over us. May God bless you all.
Now, you remember I was raising a fundraiser. I was supposed to do it within 1 week, but it never took place until the 3rd or the 4th week. The first budget I had was actually just addressing the pupils themselves and the students. And later I felt, oh, how can you even leave out the staff from the budget? And then again, when I incorporated the staff, I felt, what of the non-academic staff? And then on, I kept adding people. And then one of the things I wanted to achieve primarily was having my management staff be waiters on this dinner. And my management staff are top-ranking executives and professionals. They are people who are very respected in the society, and they have gathered a lot of wealth, a social capital rather. And I felt like if they serve these children will feel very important. So we went on this fundraiser, and we were able to, the initial target was 500,000, but we needed to buy about 110 chicken, and at an average of 4,000 naira per chicken. You know what that means. The money was not going to be enough. And then at the end of the day, we are able to get all the money we want for this project, run into about 700,000 naira. And then we hosted this dinner. You can't just imagine the excitement. Believe me, it achieved far, far more than I ever thought it will achieve. The children were wowed. Now, let me give you some tidbits behind the scene. We had the barbecue. We actually had chicken, and every chicken was cut for. And we made sure we bought big chickens. So one lump will just even look like one ordinary chicken in the village. And then, but they weren't seeing the chicken. We have this masa. For those of you, this is a local, for those of you who are not in Nigeria or even some parts of this country, masa is similar to chapati in East Africa, and then similar to pancakes outside Nigeria. So something similar to that, 2 pieces of masa for each child. That was even just enough, and that was just even a wow. And for many of them, just to be given a bottle of Coke is actually a big deal. And we wanted to give them water on a bottled water, and we wanted to make them feel honorable and also feel very respected. If you know what these kids go through, believe me, you want to think of them all the time. These kids have passed through. In fact, these kids are amazing. Believe me, if any one of us passed through what even just one kid passed through in life, and believe me, one will break down emotionally. But these kids stood their grounds. They have been lambasted. People just talk to them anyhow. They have gone through enough, and worse if they've never seen anything basic in life. They've never really enjoyed anything basic in life. So when we went with masa, and then they can see masa and they can see the drinks, and come and see how the place was agog. And more so that we are the ones who served them, you know, from that top, like we're coming this down to serve them. It was just, we had hugs and shakes. And all I had, if I just pass going around them, you say, thank you, Daddy, thank you, Daddy, thank you, Daddy, for doing this. Like, they will never forget. I think in the next episode, I'll bring you comments from the school. After comments from the school, a day or two later, I'll bring that episode to you. But right now, when they saw the meet, the whole place started shouting. They were shouting. They have never, ever seen anything like this. In fact, the admin of EMS said that even during Christmas in their homes, they don't get this treatment. So we've given them the best. And this clip is basically to thank all those of you who came strong. Some of you donated from far and near. Incidentally, one of the donors was in the program, and I just wanted one donor to be in the program so that they can experience what this is all about. I know what that person that donated said. She's a lady. She said, honestly speaking, thank you for bringing me here. I would have missed the lifetime opportunity to see these kids being touched. So those of you who donated, this clip is specifically meant for you. I'm here to just thank you, and thank you. Now, we have 3 schools, actually 3 schools. Now, these are all schools of the children. Now, we just did for 1 school. We need to do for 2 schools. I don't know how long this will take, but I really want to do it for the other 2 schools. We have 1 in Jos. This is what we did. We did that of Jos. We have 1 in Kaduna State in Kufana, and then we have 1 in Lakwami in Gombe State. Please join me as we do this again. I know you have donated, but I know you can do more again. But I equally talk to other people, and let's see how we can do. I sincerely thank you. This means so much to me. You don't know what it means. If someone said that you have given them a story for a lifetime, what you did was far more than the amount you sent. You've done something that will last in the hearts of somebody for a lifetime. One of the supporters that came said something that touched me. She said that she remembers something happened like this 26 years ago when she was in the secondary school or primary school. Can't remember precisely. She said that it was not even up to this. It was just 2 bottles of Coke or something, and then with this honors, I think with a cake, with a piece of donut or a cake. And the teachers came around and they took them by surprise and gave them this wonderful treat. And she said 26 years later, she can remember what we did will be ingrained in the hearts of the children for a lifetime. And I'm so excited. What broke me best is that when we interviewed one of these girls, you know what she said? She captured exactly why I launched out with this dinner.
My name is Rahila Luka.
Where are you coming from?
From Kaduna.
From Kaduna. Which mission field?
My father is late.
Our father is late. So you see what I'm talking about, that we have children here who go through unprecedented conditions. What can you say, Rahila, about today?
Well, I'm so excited because I've never felt the kind of love that I felt today, because the school has changed to a different environment, and also how the refreshment was. I really enjoy it.
Great. So what do you say to those who made this possible? Look at the camera there.
Okay. I really appreciate the kind of love they have given to us, and I'm really thankful. I cannot even express my gratitude because of how I'm overjoyed of the...
What do you think the students will feel tonight?
They will be so excited, and all their gist will be on how they refresh themselves today.
What is special for you here?
The special thing for me here is the encouragement that you have given to us, and you told us that you feel even in your office you still feel that you love us and we are still important. So before we think as if we are not important, but we feel your love for us.
Thank you very much. May God bless you. Watch out for the next episode on this same topic with Mission Hub with Mark Phillips on another tilt. Throughout this week, we are going to look at all these topics and see how that is. But just in the meantime, be assured that I'm so glad that you came strong to support me to do this. I will soon launch out the next fundraiser for the 2. I'm looking at the number of the school, and then I'll come up with a budget, and I want you to support this as well. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to this segment of the show, Inside EMS, one of your favorite shows here on ECWA TV. And here you know, we get to tell you about mission activities in EMS and also beyond. And we get to bring to your faces people who are doing some amazing things in the areas of mission and how God is helping them. And basically, as a ministry, what God is doing in us and through us. And this evening, again, we're back with another exciting content for you. And I have here with me on set my brother Toby. Toby, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Toby is a missionary. He has been a practicing missionary for a while, and currently he told me that he is an associate pastor somewhere. Well, I would allow him to tell us more about that. So, Toby, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're a student of JETS, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, what year?
Year 4, awaiting graduation.
Okay.
Currently, I am working as a volunteer in one of the ECWA churches in town, where I join other ministers of God. To shepherd the people of God. And a few years back, before coming to school, I've been in the field, particularly in the West. I worked as a missionary for 2 years in Ondo State in a local government called Ilaje.
Okay.
Yeah.
So recently EMS were in that area. Were you part of the Southwest Saturation campaign?
Actually, no.
Oh,
I
okay.
was actually landing up my studies
Okay.
at that moment.
Okay, so I'm curious. You're studying, or you studied missions,
Yes.
but you are in a church.
Yeah.
I thought that by now you should be in one bush somewhere.
Okay. When we talk about missions, mission can be viewed from various perspectives, but notwithstanding, me being in a church at this moment, it's just a place of worship and a place whereby I think God needs me to help with the activities of the church. So I'm not a full-time pastor. I'm only a child of God, serving God in the church, doing missions through the church.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you're saying that a missionary is not necessarily somebody that needs to be somewhere in the bush telling people who have never heard about Jesus.
Yeah, basically when we talk about mission, the whole world is actually a mission field, and people are found in every places. So every missionary can't be in the bush. If a missionary had to be in the bush, then we'll minister to those in the office, we'll minister to those in the church, we'll minister to those in the city at large. So it's just important you as a missionary knows where God wants you to be and how He wants you to involve in mission at a particular time.
So at what point in your life did you realize that you have a call to do missions?
Basically, I received my calling at a very tender age. I was in primary school. It was not taken serious by me, but as time goes on, everyone around me, I got confirmation from people I never knew before, people I knew, mentors, and everyone. So I have been involved in mission from a very tender age.
So you have been doing missions like most of your life?
Yeah. I remember sometimes around 2013 when basically I'm based here in Jos. There's need for me to travel back to Kwara State, which is my state of origin, and the church I attend there, I was the youngest that joined the evangelism team at that moment in the whole community. And basically I could remember that my Sundays are actually spent in the field, visiting one station to the others alongside with other missionaries. So since then, I've been in mission for my secondary school. After secondary school, I had to go into full-time mission where I was posted to a station to serve as a missionary.
Wow, from secondary school days?
Yeah.
Wow, exciting.
Yeah. Immediately I finished my secondary school.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a full-time missionary pastoring a church at the age of 17. before
Wow.
18.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
it was indeed an amazing experience. So since then, the Lord has been helping, and up to now, I'm still involved in mission one way or the other.
Yeah. So I'm sure coming to JET, you didn't have to battle between, deciding whether you would go into pastoral or youth ministry. You just knew your call, that you have been called into missions.
Yeah, that's not an issue for me, because basically all Christians are called to be missions. And when we talk about pastoral, when we talk about youth ministry, when we talk about educators, they are actually a branch of missions. So as a missionary, if you want people to see the pastoral part of you, it's good, they will see that. As a missionary, if you want people to see the educationist part of you or the youth worker part of you, they will see it. But mission covers everything.
Wow.
And a popular saying says, missions is the queen of theology.
Wow. Oh, wow. So that seems to be like your own popular saying. Well, I think I like it. Yeah. So what was the conception people around you had when they found out that really you were going to go into full-time missions? Were they excited about it, or there were people that tried to distract you or keep you away from doing that? I'm very interested in that.
Okay. Basically, a lot of people within the school, I'll start from within the school, never believed I'm a mission student. Often when they see me, they say, Pastor, I just have to make it clear to them I'm a mission student. But going back to family and the outside world, often the outside world don't know the difference between a missionary, a pastor, educationist, or a youth worker in the seminary. It's those within the cycle of theology that understand these various departments.
Yes.
But coming back to my family, they didn't take it so heavy with me, because right from childhood I have been involved in mission, and they knew that that is actually the pattern the Lord has laid down for me as an individual. So me doing missions in school, to them, was just a fulfillment of purpose.
When you were saying that you were pastoring a church or a mission field at 17, I was blown. So why do you think that a lot of people do not really, or a lot of young people now particularly, do not really think that missions is something they can do? You will agree with me that a lot of young people today are actually after jobs that are probably creative, jobs that give them better opportunities in the outside world and all of that, more money, more fame and prestige and all of that. So why do you think that young people are not so much interested in missions today?
Okay, basically I'll start from the angle that the way young people view mission, especially in this generation, is still with this mentality of you having to leave your locality, traveling to an environment that is totally strange to you, to serve as a pastor over a church. No, things has changed. In this century that we find ourselves, you can actually do mission in every space you find yourself. It's just a kind of change of perspective, change of orientation that is needed for most young people in the world today. So look, regarding the fact that you work in an office, you can actually do mission in the office. Regardless of the kind of work you do, even a barber can actually do mission to the service he renders to people. So mission actually can be done in various ways and various capacity.
Yeah, so have there been challenges that you have had to battle on the field?
Okay, that is a very interesting question. I would answer that question from two perspectives, the spiritual and the physical. Mission itself is an invitation to challenges. There's no how you do Christian mission that you won't face one challenge or the other. As a missionary in the field, looking at that community, There are a lot of spiritual challenges I faced there, a lot of ATR, power tussle. But the testimony there is this: the one in us as Christian is actually greater than the one in the world. I remember the first day I arrived at one of my field in Ondo State. The junction to the community, what I saw there was actually sacrifice in calabash. And getting to the field, the pastorium that they gave me to stay, it's actually opposite the community shrine. So you're imagining the pastor's house directly opposite the community shrine, whereby there's a forbidden bush after the shrine. So every activities they do in that occultic shrine, you get to hear it and you get to pray back so that evils will not backfire, so that you get the atmosphere burning for God. I remember landing on that mission field that day. I remember me placing my hands on the floor to like, God, I'm here, have your way, take this community for yourself. But believe me, the moment I laid down my hand on that floor, actually I felt a kind of heat, very powerful, very strong heat that just tapped my hand away from the ground. So I knew I am in for it, and to be honest with you, it was just the grace of God that kept me at that moment. It wasn't easy. That was the kind of community you'll be, and all of a sudden, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they'll just ring bell that everybody should go in. They have a special sacrifice to do. Nobody should see it. No matter where you are, you don't have freedom of movement. It's so occultic in nature. And coming back to the physical challenges, actually, my first mission field is actually called Obenla Community in Ilaje local government. Basically, this community is on top of rivers, like is connected to the Atlantic Ocean, and the major occupation of these people is actually fishing. Now, in this community, what I mean is that their house, source of livelihood, everything about them is on top of water. So as a young boy that don't even know how to swim, I've never been to an environment like that. But because of mission, I had to go there, not just going to visit, but going there to live with these people. It's not actually easy one for me. I had to learn how to ride canoe. I had to learn how to walk on their local bridges so that one can move from one place to the other, because as a missionary, you are not just there to sit down and occupy space, you are there to walk. So it's challenging to live there. I remember some scenario whereby you can accidentally fall into water. When you fall into that water, you don't know what you meet inside the water. You can get injured, sharp objects, wild animals, and stuff like that. So those are challenges. Talking about food too, basically when they tell you houses are built on water, you don't expect to get every kind of foods that are on the land there. So they have just a particular type of food and a particular type of soup too. So it's not easy to blend to their pattern of life. It was challenging. At a point, my stomach was reacting to the food, to the water, to the environment, personal hygiene and stuff. So these are few of the challenges which time may not permit me to explore it better.
Wow, your story is just filled with challenges. But I like what you said at the beginning of this. You said missions is an invitation to challenges, and you have been on the field. You have seen these things firsthand. And do you regret all of the experiences you have passed through?
Basically, I have no cause to regret anything. I think the Lord ordered my footsteps there to teach and to make me better. I was talking with someone earlier today. I said where we are going is not far, but places we have to branch before getting to where we are going are actually much. Now, one thing I get to understand is this: the Lord actually used that field to prepare me for mission here in Jos and here in school. I wrote my thesis on adaptation and mission work. Now, because of the challenges I have faced in that environment, it opens my eye to how to do mission better so that it can be productive and effective in that community. So my thesis topic was actually adaptation and mission work in Obinla community. That is the community I worked. So to enhance other missionaries, both old and young, that will be going there for mission work, to enhance them with first-hand information on how to cope with the environment, how to cope with the challenges in this environment. So I had no regret. I had a lot of testimony as the Lord used my staying there to bless the life of many. I was also blessed as a missionary there.
Wow, wow. Toby, I'll tell you that it has been nice and very exciting having you to join us in this conversation.
Thank you.
To actually open our eyes to see, you know, some of the not so cool parts of missions that many people may not really get to know about. And you know, many people may see this as a reason not to join missions, but if you ask me, I would say this is enough motivation, you know, to go into mission. Because through snares, through dangers, through toils, you know, we are still going to take the gospel of the Lord Jesus to many people out there. So thank you so much for sharing with us your experience as a young missionary.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, that was Toby, and Toby has been a missionary for probably in his early teens, and he still is a missionary, and he has gone through the perils and the dangers and the troubles of missions. But the beautiful thing about Toby's story is he has been doing all of this with great joy. In fact, he believes that missions is an invitation to challenges. So to you out there who is thinking about doing missions, the truth is missions is not a journey without challenges, but by the grace of God, we overcome them. And like Toby reminded us about the word of God in 1 John chapter 4, verse 4, greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. And because we have someone greater inside of us, we're going to overcome. So that is the much that we can take on today's episode of Inside EMS. I'm sure you enjoyed the ride. And there are many other people out there like Toby who we're sure and we're certain are going to join us on this show subsequently. So just keep the time to keep tuning in to watch us on Inside EMS. Just make sure that you follow us on all of our social media handles. We're available on YouTube, we're available on Facebook, and the name is EMS of ECWA. There you would get to watch other exciting content that we share with you about what God is doing with us, through us, and in us as a ministry. That's the much again that we can take today. So thank you so much, and see you again next time. Bye.